day and welcome to today's live session. First and foremost, I pray wherever I am meeting you, you are doing well. First and foremost, let me get some lights on up in the place. Now, first and foremost, guys, let us know where you're tuning in from, wherever you are in the world. Let us know where you are tuning in from. If you are in Australasia, if you're in Asia, if you're in Taiwan, Japan, wherever you are, let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from. We've got Yogesh in the house who's tuning in. Yogesh, let us know where you're tuning in from. He says, hi Yogesh, how are you? We are doing well, Yogesh. We pray you're doing well as well. Now, guys, wherever you're tuning in from, whether you are live on YouTube, whether you're live on Instagram, whether you're live on Facebook, or whether you're inside of the private room, let us know in the chat very swiftly where you guys are tuning in from as we jump into today's extremely empowering session. Today's session is going to be extremely empowering. We're going to be talking about assassination based on association, and we're going to be helping you guys understand exactly why it's so important to know who is around you. Let me say that one more time, why it's so important to know who is around you. So without further ado, guys, one more time, for those of you who haven't as of yet, let us know inside of the chat where you are tuning in from. Now today, guys, I'm just going to say this, today I believe the amount of challenges we had just to get live today, I'm slightly feeling like there is a value bomb that's going to be distributed in today's session, which a lot of people are going to get a lot out of. And I think that's the reason why there was so much disruption attempting to slow us down from actually getting this show up and running today. Now, for those of you who don't know, today it's Friday at 8 p.m. Okay, it's Friday at 8 p.m. Typically, this is our Wealth in Words session. Yogesh says he's tuning in from London. Welcome, Yogesh, London in the house. All right. And guys, everyone else, wherever you're tuning in from, whatever platform you're on, let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from, and also let us know, yeah, if you're ready to go. Let me just put it that way. So today is typically Friday at 8 p.m. we typically have our Wealth in Words call. Our Wealth in Words community is a paid monthly membership where we literally break down how you can use biblical principles in order to move further faster in your business. And Wealth in Words has been running for a number of years and has a number of members who are literally producing hit it out of the park results in their businesses, various different businesses, not only property investment businesses, which they're basically utilizing to move further faster in their future. So today I decided to do something very, very different to usual. I decided that what I was going to do was literally share today's live outside of the Wealth in Words community, outside of our school group and outside of our standard membership group. Now the Zoom is still open, so if you're a Wealth in Words member and you're seeing this somewhere, you're seeing this on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or some other platform, what I want to encourage you to do is hit the button that you know you can hit and literally get inside of the private Zoom room, because the private Zoom room is still open for all of the monthly Wealth in Words members. Now, if you're someone who's brand new and you're meeting me for the first time, my name is Samuel Ikanwini-Kimwin. I help people create consistent and then colossal cash flow using resources and revenues in plain sight. Now, typically, I do that a lot of the time. The majority of my client testimonials and case studies are all produced through means of property investment businesses. That was the first real business that I had hit it out of the park success. But since doing that, we've also helped people with education-based business, university owners, care provision, and so many other businesses as well. So if that's something of value to you, feel free to stay connected to me. Feel free to follow, hit subscribe, whatever you're doing, depending on the platform that you're on. Now, without further ado, what we're going to do is we're going to jump straight into today's session. The reason we're jumping straight in is because we do not have lots of time to waste. We don't have any time to waste, but we've got lots to get through. So without further ado, we're going to jump straight into today's session. For those of you who like taking notes, here's the note, here's the note or the title for today's session. The note or the title for today's session is Associative Assassination. All right. And we're using a very bold claim, a very bold title for today's session, because I believe that what we're going to be talking about today is literally going to be a game changer for you, regardless of whether you're a business owner or you're someone who's just starting out in your journey. looking for financial independence, looking for a way to become more, to have more, to do more, this is literally the session for you. So let me start by asking you guys a question. I love asking questions because that's the way that people literally are able to transform from where they are to where they need to go. And I learned this when I used to be a teacher a number of years ago. So the first question I'm going to ask you is this: do you believe that your associations play a part in your success or failure? If you do, just write in the comments, I do, and let me know if that's something you believe. Do you believe that your associations play a part in your success or failure? Do you believe that the people you're connected with, do you believe that the people you're associating with are having a positive slash or negative impact in terms of your success, or adversely in terms of your failure? Okay, because I think that's a very important thing to ask. All right, and I just had to turn off the fan. I literally heard the buzzing inside of the monitoring headphones, and I was like, oh, maybe I should turn the fan off. So the fan is off now. Hopefully there'll be no buzzing in the background for you guys. Now, let me ask this question. Okay, if you were aware that your associations were having an impact to either elevate or conversely to assassinate your success, would you want to do something about it? If you would, just write in the comments, I would, so I know that I'm talking to the right people today in today's session. Because effectively, the questions I've just asked are the crux of where we're going in today's session, okay? It's exactly the crux of where we're going in today's session. And I see a bunch of people have jumped on different platforms, throwing comments in. Guys, just say hi as well. Say hi as well, so I know that you guys are in the house. Feel free to say hi as well, so I know that you guys are in the house. All right. We got Cambridgeshire in the house. We got London in the house. Okay, I'm seeing the comments coming through on all the various different platforms right now, which is absolutely amazing. All right. So those are the two questions I wanted to ask you. And the reason I wanted to ask you those questions is because, first and foremost, for those of you who are in the right place, I wanted to say to you a great big congratulations. Now you might be sitting there thinking, Samuel, congratulations. Why are you congratulating me? I'm congratulating you because you are in the right place at the right time in order to hear exactly how to make sure that those associations that you've had, which maybe were deteriorating your success, can now start to elevate your success. Okay. Now, just to give you some context, Jim Rohn, okay, business philosopher, business success coach, Jim Rohn, the man himself, a number of years ago, before he passed away, used to share something extremely powerful. Jim Rohn used to often say, okay, he often used to say that you are the average of the 5 people that you associate with the most. Someone throw the number 5 in the chat, okay? Jim Rohn used to say that you are the average of the 5 people that you associate with the most. Now, the reason why this is super profound is because many of us have never taken an audit, okay? You might want to write that down in your notes. Many of us have never even taken an audit. We've never taken 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes to say, hold on a minute, let me audit who's around me. Many of us have never said, you know what, who are the 5 closest people around me? Who are the 5 people I spend the most of my time? Who are the 5 people I spend the most of my life with? Now, if you're someone who's married, you've got children, I get it. I know what you're going to do. You're going to do what I used to do in 2002. You're going to do what I used to do in 2005. You're going to do what I used to do in 2007, 2008. And then after I got married, I used to do as well in 2012. You're going to say, oh, but the people around me the most are my family. Have you ever considered that your family are also influenced by the 5 most closest people around them? If someone understands what I'm talking about, just write in the comments, I do, so I know I'm talking to the right people. So first and foremost, let me congratulate you because you are in the right place. And today in today's session, we're going to be talking exactly about how your associations can literally elevate you or how your associations can literally assassinate you. And I want to really focus in this session, if it's okay, I want to focus on the assassination part, okay? Assassination, okay? Because it's interesting. I heard Eileen Wilder say procrastination will be the assassination of your destination. And one of the things I realized is that procrastination doesn't just come from procrastination. Procrastination is not just some serendipitous environment that some people just choose to embrace. Procrastination a lot of the time comes and is birthed from association. And when you understand that your association can be producing procrastination, which ultimately, if Eileen Wilder's correct, will be the assassination of your destination, you should also understand that whether it's financial freedom you're attempting to achieve, whether it's some other form of success you're attempting to achieve, whether it's in the cadre of wealth, relationships, or anything else you are attempting to achieve, you should understand that your association is going to have a profound impact in whether or not that is going to happen. So, because my heart is for you to be able to manifest all of the wealth that God has ordained for you according to his word, what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you by literally sharing with you a story. So let's explore. Let's jump into the Bible. Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 16. Okay, 1 Kings chapter 16. And I'm going to illustrate something to you, but I want to start by sharing this story because I think this story is going to be super helpful for you to get a visualization on true elevation. Okay, I want you to get some visualization on true elevation so that you don't have procrastination on your destination. Okay, I want you to get true visualization of the whole process. So we're going to 1 Kings chapter 16. 1 Kings chapter 16. And if you're there, if you're someone who's a Bible reader and you got your Bible with you, I would love for you to just throw in the comments the word amen or the words I'm there the moment you're there. 1 Kings chapter 16. Okay, and we're going to read a few verses, not too many. I'm going to start with kind of what I call the linchpin verse before we go further into the whole story so you guys can have the context. And again, guys, look, if you're someone who's tuned into my content for the first time, you're seeing me live and you're not someone who's a believer in the Bible, that's okay. All right, that's okay. Don't be someone who makes a judgment prior to actually finding out what we're really doing here. So feel free to fasten your seatbelt and take full advantage of all of the things that we're going to have in order for you to succeed by giving you everything you need. All right, let's jump in. First Kings chapter 16. Now, I'm going to read the linchpin verse. The linchpin verse for me, if you're there, just throw in the comments the words I'm there. If you're getting there, just throw in the comments I'm getting there. If you've got your Bible with you, it's all good. Throw in the word Bible. And if you're someone who ain't going to get the Bible regardless, you just want me to read it to you, just write in the comments. You can read it, Samuel. All right, all good, all good, all good, all good, and all love here in the environment. All right, now, what we're going to do is we're going to start by reading verse 11. The reason I'm going to start by reading verse 11 is because verse 11 is going to give us a powerful insight as to what I would love to share with you. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to paraphrase the story from prior. And then straight after I paraphrase the story from prior to verse 11, that is, I'm then going to go on and proceed into the story past verse 11. Okay, so we're going to start in verse 11. All right, for your notes, starting in verse 11. Then I'm going to paraphrase the story before verse 11. So your homework might be go read before verse 11 for yourself. And then I'm going to dig deeper from verse 11 into further verses to help you guys understand this. And the reason we're doing this is just I want you to get a flavor, a feel of the story to understand how this could produce glory for you, all right, and for me and for everyone else. All right, let's go. 1 Kings chapter 16, I'm reading verse 11. Let's go. It says, and it came to pass, that means this happened after some other stuff. This is the reason why I have to paraphrase the other stuff after, because this is happening after some other stuff, right? And it came to pass when he began to reign, as soon as he sat on his throne, he slew all the house of Baasha. He left him not one that peeth against a wall. Okay, neither of his kinfolks nor of his friends. Okay, now this is super powerful. Why? What are we reading in verse 11? In verse 11, we're discovering something. We're discovering in verse 11 that someone comes into power. Okay, this particular person, for those of you who want to take notes, is named Zimri. Okay, so Zimri comes into power, and this is me slightly paraphrasing what's happened before as well as expanding on verse 11. So Zimri comes into power. He becomes the king. When he becomes the king, he goes and assassinates. Okay, and this is why we're talking about the assassination through association, or as I call it, associative assassination, right? What Zimri does the moment he gets into power is he goes and assassinates every single family member. Okay, the word said that peeth against the wall, which I believe that is to say it's a male. Okay, every single male family member that was connected to the previous king. Okay, someone write in the chat the word king. Okay, so one king comes in power, and when that king comes in power, he goes and maliciously assassinates every single male associated to the previous king before him. Now, why would you do that? Obviously, it makes sense. Why would you do that? In those days, the males would have birthright. And as a result, if you do not take care of all of those males or assassinate all of those males, you'd put yourself in a precarious situation, because one of those males could come one day and say, hey, listen, I am the actual rightful heir to the throne. Okay, so this is king business, and if it's king business, it means you should take note if you're a kingdom person, because king business needs to be understood by kingdom people. If someone understands what I'm talking about, just write in the chat, kingdom people, so I know that we're talking to the right people. Now, so we get to verse 11, and the crux of verse 11 is associative assassination. Okay, I'm going to read the last part of verse 11. I want you to see this. He left him not one that peereth against the wall, neither of his kinfolks, nor of his friends. So Zimri went on a killing spree, murdering, assassinating every single person that was associated to the previous king. Okay. Now, why is this important? This is important to start with because it helps us understand. This is a story, but I want you to understand this, right? All of these people are being assassinated based on association. Okay, last part of verse 11. What did it say? It said he killed all of them, included, he didn't leave any of the kinfolks, that means any relatives, listen to this part, nor of his friends. Okay, if you have a friend, just write me in the chat. Okay, if you have a friend, if you have any friends, okay, if you have any friends, all I want you to do is just write the word me in the chat. If you have even just one friend. Okay, now you might be saying, Samuel, why do you want me to write me in the chat if I've got one friend? Because I want you to understand that if someone can be assassinated by virtue of a relationship in terms of a friendship, we're not even talking about family. Okay, we all have family because it takes a mama and a papa for you and I to show up, right? That's all of us. Okay, but I want you to understand how this works. You see, even the friends were being murdered here. Even the friends were being targeted here. Even the friends were being assassinated through means of association. Now, the reason I asked the question, do you have a friend? Do you have even just one friend? It's because I want you to understand that principles work in every single time frame. You know, there's going to be some people, oh, but Samuel, you're reading the Bible, it's 2,000 years old. That's not, that's not relevant today. Principles are relevant irrespective of time. Principles are relevant irrespective of time. Let me say that one more time. Principles are relevant irrespective of time. You see, someone who says to me, oh, Samuel, that's 2,000 years old, that's not relevant today, is the same kind of person who hasn't taken 2 minutes to think about whether the law of gravity worked the same 2,000 years ago as it does today. Someone write in the chat, gravity. You see, the law of gravity works exactly the same as it worked 2,000 years ago. You see, the law of momentum, it works exactly the same as it did 2,000 years ago. You see, the law of inertia, it works exactly the same as it did 2,000 years ago. And for those of you who don't know what the law of inertia is, the law of inertia is the law that states that things get progressively worse unless there's intervention. What does that tell you about you and I? It tells me that you and I get progressively worse unless there's intervention. I want you to think about your garden right now. I want you to think about maybe your oldest daughter's bedroom right now, okay? You see, things get progressively worse unless there's intervention. This is the law of inertia. And why does this happen? This happens because these are principles, and principles work the same irrespective of time. So we see this King Zimri, he takes over the town. The moment he takes over the town, he goes and literally assassinates every single person who is male and associated with the prior king. Kinsmen, that means relatives. Friends, that means associates. He takes out all of them. Okay? Hope you guys are understanding this. Thank you, Dwayne. Dwayne's correcting me there. Thank you. It's the law of entropy that I was given the definition for, not the law of inertia. Excuse me. The law of inertia states that an object at rest will remain at rest unless it's acted upon by an outside force. Thank you very much, Dwayne. Appreciate that. That was super helpful. All right, so let's go deeper. So 1 Kings chapter 16, verse 11 tells us what Zimri did. Now, let me give you the context so you understand how Zimri got here. Because some of you might be thinking, but what would possess a man to just go and start murdering people? Okay. So this is what happened prior. There was a king, all right? This king was called Jeroboam, okay? And he was the king over the nation. And whilst he was the king over the nation, he did some evil stuff, okay? And just to give you a flavor of some of the evil stuff he did, he made fake priests, which means people that aren't supposed to be priests, he was telling them they were priests. He made himself a priest, even though he was not a priest, okay? And for those of you who are thinking, Samuel, it's 2025, what do you mean by priests? And, are you talking about priests in the church? And no, what we're talking about is we're talking about connections. That's what we're talking about. This is what association is about. We're talking about connections. He made himself a connection between humanity, people, and God, right? Which he had no right doing, okay? Which was him doing evil, quote unquote, in the sight of the Lord. And as a result, he was judged. And a prophet basically said, a person who was speaking on behalf of God, they said something powerful. They said, Jeroboam, you and your whole family are going to be wiped out. Okay, you and your whole family are going to be wiped out. Someone throw in the comments the word wipe out. Now, this is where it gets super interesting, and I hope you fasten your seatbelt for this. Zimri comes along, and Zimri is literally like the servant. He's a soldier. He's the servant of one of the children of Jeroboam. So Jeroboam dies. Jeroboam's child becomes the king, and now Jeroboam's child is the king. Zimri is working under him. He's working for Jeroboam's son, okay? And as he's working for Jeroboam's son, Zimri decides to do the military coup. He decides, we don't want to be under you anymore, Jeroboam's son. So what he does is he goes and murders Jeroboam's son, all right, who's at the time the king. And by virtue of him murdering Jeroboam's son, he then opens up the door for him to become the king. So he becomes the king. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Now that he becomes the king, okay, now that Zimri's taken over and become the king, he now goes and does exactly what I read with you guys in verse 11, 1 Kings 16, verse 11, for those of you who just jumped in. He goes and he now does something which most people would think is absurd. He goes and murders every single male connection, every single male relative, every single male associative, whether it be friend, whether it be foe, it doesn't matter who you are, okay? He goes and murders all of them, all right? Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Samuel, this is super deep. Why would someone do that? I've just told you why he did that. First, he did it because God said so, okay? Like, if you want to get to the bottom of the whole thing, he's not doing this because, I think this is a good idea. He's not doing this because, I'd like to just kill people. He's not even doing it because he wants to keep himself safe. The first bottom line is he's doing this because God said this was going to happen to Jeroboam. He said, Jeroboam, all your people, all your lineage is going to be wiped out. And Zimri is just literally doing what God has ordained, okay? So that's already a lesson for some of us, but I know some of us don't want to go that deep. So let's just jump out of that. And if this is helping anyone already, if we're already helping anyone, if someone's being helped, just even by me breaking this down, just write I am in the chat so I know that this is helping you, or just write this is helping me so I know this is helping you, right? So the background is Jeroboam's the king. Jeroboam does wickedness. From Jeroboam doing wickedness, right? Jeroboam gets put in a predicament where a prophet says to him, you are no longer going to be around. Your whole lineage is going to be wiped out of town. Then he has a son. Jeroboam dies. His son takes over. His son's now the king. Now his son's the king. His son has a soldier working under him called Zimri. And Zimri decides, you know what? I don't want to be under this guy anymore. I want to be in charge. I want to be large and in charge. So Zimri murders him. This brings us to verse 11, where Zimri then decides to wipe out his whole generation. All the males, friends, family, foes, don't make a difference. I'm taking them all out, right? So now let's jump into the actual story I want to share with you, okay? Because now you have the context, and now you have the verse 11 to understand what Zimri did. I want to show you the power right now, okay? I want to show you the power. I want to show you, more importantly, I want to show you how this relates to you. I want to show you how your associations can be producing assassination. Okay, so watch this. Okay, and if this is good stuff, someone write good stuff in the chat. Let's go. Verse 11 again. And it came to pass when he began to reign, as soon as he sat on his throne, that he slew all the house of Baasha. He left him not one that peeth against a wall, neither of his kinfolks nor of his friends. Watch this, verse 12. Thus did Zimri destroy all the house of Baasha according to the word of the Lord, which he spake against Baasha by Jehu the prophet. So you can see here that Jehu, the prophet, had said to Baasha, yo, you're getting wiped out. The same way that Jeroboam, his ancestor, had been told, yo, you're getting wiped out. So all these guys are being told they're going to get wiped out. And guess what? They're getting wiped out. And as they're getting wiped out, guess who's in charge? Zimri is large and in charge. But it gets better. Someone write in the comments the word better, because this is where this story really takes a turn. 13. For all the sins of Baasha and the sins of Elaha, his son, by which they sinned, and by which they made Israel to sin, in provoking the Lord God of Israel to anger with their vanities. Now, I didn't really want to stop here, but I'm going to stop here because there's something really powerful here. I just want you guys to write this down if you're taking notes, all right? Verse 13. The core root of the problem was vanity. Okay, and I want you to have this because I don't want you to be someone who's tracking but not tracking. I don't want you to be someone who's seeing but not seeing. I don't want you to be someone who's getting but not getting. All right. And because it gets better, I want you to take that principle away. In your business, do you understand that the reason you should do things is for value and not for vanity? Okay. Someone write in the comments the word value. I'm going to say that again. In your business, in your life, in your family, do you understand that the true corest way for you to have wealth, for you to produce wealth, develop wealth, and also deploy wealth unto other people is to be focused on value and not to be focused on literal vanity? Okay, so please just bear that in mind. Let's go deeper. So verse 13 again. For all the sins of Baasha and the sins of Elah, his son, by which they sinned and by which they made Israel to sin, let's go, and by which they made Israel to sin, in provoking the Lord God of Israel to anger with their vanities. Watch this, verse 14. Now the rest of the acts of Elah and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? Okay, so it's asking us a question. Now, how are we going to answer that question? Someone tell me in the chat, how would you answer that question? The Bible is asking you in 1 Kings chapter 16, aren't all the other things that this king did, aren't they all inside of the book of Chronicles? Okay, how would you answer that question? Katrina in the house, welcome Katrina, great to have you on the live, right? So guys, let me know the answer to that question. If you're reading 1 Kings 16 and we're in the middle of this really fruity story, this fruitful juicy story, and as we're squeezing all the juice out of the grapes of the story in 1 Kings 16, it's asking us a question. It's saying the rest of the things that happened with this guy are written in Chronicles. How would you know the answer to that question? Because that's what it's asking you right now. Okay, so let's go back and we'll go further. So 14, and then we're going to proceed. Now the rest of the acts of Elah and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? All right, now let's get into the fun stuff. Verse 15, listen to this. 1 Kings 16, verse 15. In the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah, did Zimri reign, listen to this, 7 days in Tisra. Okay, I'm going to say this again because this is profound. And once you understand how this works, guys, let me tell you what happens. Life changes. There are associative assassinations taking place every single day. Some of you guys have had your businesses assassinated through means of previous associations. I'm literally telling you this. Listen, and guys, if I'm speaking truth right now, just write the word truth in the chat. If you've ever had a business in the past and that business literally didn't last, and you know that one of the core roots that it didn't last is because of people you had associated with, people that knew your business that shouldn't have known your business, people that were in your business that shouldn't have been in your business, just write the word true in the chat. Now, you might be thinking, Samuel, why are you breaking it down like this? Like, because this is deep. Like, you're getting in my business, you're reading my journal. The reason I'm doing this is because I want you to understand, if you cannot see the connection, look, first truth's coming, let's go. If you cannot see the connection between what I'm sharing here and your real life in 2025, guess what? The principle will continue to work like the law of gravity, but it will end up working against you instead of in your favor. If someone understands what I'm talking about, just write in the comments, I do. This is what's happening every single day in people's areas of wealth, in people's areas of health, in people's areas of relationship. People are living lives where principles that work regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of how tall or how thin, regardless of how fat or how slim. It doesn't matter your situation, the principles work. Principles do not discriminate. But here's the problem. If you are not a person who starts to decipher, discover, and deploy the principles will just work against you. And as they work against you, guess what? You will end up being someone who is associatively assassinated. You'll end up being someone who your associations result in you being assassinated. Now, I'm not talking about necessarily assassinated with a gun, but I'm talking about assassinated in your business, assassinated in your marriage, assassinated in your relationships, assassinated in your wealth, assassinated in your work. Just think about this, because this is reality. This is the reality we all live in. And it's a reality that for over 2,000 years, these principles have been outlined, refined, defined, in order for us to jump into them and make them feel sublime in our life. Let's go deeper. So I'm in verse 15 again. In the 20th and 7th year of Asa, king of Judah, did Zimri reign 7 days in Tisra. This guy was a king for a week. Someone throw in the chat, king for a week. He was, you see, this is what fascinates me. Zimri was a king for a week, but the kings he took out were not kings for a week. He took out a king who was a king for more than a week. He took out the lineage of a king, all of which people were reigning for longer than a week, but he was only a king for a week. This is crazy. Let's go deeper. This is so good. Let's go. I'll read it again for the third time. 15. In the 20th and 7th year of Asa, king of Judah, did Zimri reign 7 days in Tisra. And the people were encamped against Gibeathon, which belonged to the Philistines. 16. Watch this. And the people that were encamped heard say, Zimri hath conspired and have also slain the king. So they heard that Zimri was in conspiracy. And when they heard he was in conspiracy, guess what they said? They said, you know what? We ain't feeling this. Now, it's interesting because what most people don't realize is what people hear about you a lot of the time is what people believe about you. Okay? That's something you should write down. What people hear about you a lot of the time is what people believe about you. Now, that doesn't always mean it's true. Yes, that was a pause for effect. Because I want you to think about that for a moment. I want you to realize that if you are not doing a good enough job of sharing with people what they should hear about you, someone else might be doing a better job of sharing with people what they want them to hear about you. And as a result, you can end up having associative assassination, where you are being assassinated in business, you're being assassinated in your work, you're being assassinated in your relationships, you're being assassinated in different cadres and realms of your life because you haven't put your foot forward and said, I'm going to be a pioneer and let people know about me. I'm going to be a pioneer and let people know what I do. I'm going to be a pioneer and let people know what's going on in my life. I'm going to be a pioneer and let people know how I get down. I'm going to be a pioneer and let people know the way I think, feel, and make choices. Let me tell you something. If nobody knows how you think, feel, and make choices, guess what's going to happen? Hashtag scandal. That's when the media comes out and says, this guy done this way with these people, and everybody says, ooh, he did it. He's guilty. Guilty by association. Ooh, she did it. She's guilty. Guys, why do you think so many people are run rampant by the press? Why do you think so many people are, their persona is given to you rather than you doing the research to go get it for yourself? Okay? And guys, I'm sharing this with you because I know many people who are part of our Wealth and Words community are business owners. They want to understand how to do a better job in their business. I'm here to tell you something. You cannot do a better job in your business if someone else is spreading your message on your behalf without your permission. Think about that. Dwayne says, this is powerful. Let's go. There's more where that came from. Let's go. So verse 16. And the people that were encamped heard say Zimri have conspired and have also slain the king. Listen to this. Wherefore all Israel made Omri, the captain of the host, king over Israel that day in the camp. So here's what's happening. Zimri's out here doing what God said was going to happen. He is basically taking out all of the kings and all of the king's family, right? He ends up becoming the king. But when he ends up becoming the king, the people, the nation, the actual constituents here, hold on, this guy's conspiring and he's killed the king. So obviously they know that means he is planning to be the king, okay? And within the 7 days, the 1 week, within the 1 week he's the king, what they do is they choose someone else. They choose Omri. They say, no, Omri's going to be our king. We like Omri. We like what's been said about Omri. We associate with Omri, okay? So if they associate with Omri, what do you think is going to happen to Zimri? Okay, this is getting so funny, but let's go deeper. 16. Reading from the middle. First Kings 16 verse 16. Wherefore all Israel made Omri the captain of the host king over Israel that day in the camp. 17. And Omri went up from Gibeathon and all Israel with him, and they besieged Tisra. So Tisra is where Zimri is, right? And what they've done is they've come all together as a bag of man. Okay, you guys know what I'm talking about. They all got together, united, and said, look, let's go get this guy. And they went to Tisra after Zimri. Omri's leading the charge. But watch what happens. Verse 18. And it came to pass when Zimri saw that the city was taken, that he went into the palace of the king's house and burnt the king's house over him with fire and died. This guy committed suicide. Now, I want you to understand why this is so profound. This is profound because what this is showing us is that being assassinated based on association doesn't always happen by someone else killing you. You see, in this predicament, Zimri literally killed himself. And the reason he killed himself is because they were coming for him. Now, we don't know if they would have killed him or if they would have made him a hostage, okay, a captive, as it would have been called in the Bible days. We don't know if they were going to make him a slave. We don't know if they were going to make him a captive. We don't know if they were going to make him a hostage. But what we do know is he killed himself. What we do know is he barricaded himself in the house of the king and burnt that house down with himself inside. Okay, let's keep going because this is super powerful. And he died. Verse 19. For his sins, listen to this, because this is the real judgment that people gloss over. Oh, this guy killed himself. No, but let's see why, right? Verse 19. For his sins which he sinned in doing evil in the sight of the Lord, in walking in the way of Jeroboam, which is the same king that was told he's going to die and all these people are going to die. He's now being associated with the same king that he wiped out. He's now being associated with the same king that he took out his lineage. I want you guys to see this, because sometimes you can be operating in a way that you think is righteous, doing things that go against the very same fabric and nature of what you're fighting against. This is why there is an illusion in life called confusion. This is why you don't want to be confused. This is why I'm so grateful when I found the verse in the Bible which says God is not the author of confusion. That verse changed my life. It made me realize anytime there's confusion in my life, God is absent in some way from that situation, and I need to bring him into that situation. Because when you bring God into a situation, guess what happens? Clarity shows up. How do you know, Samuel? Genesis chapter 1. When God showed up in Genesis chapter 1, you know what he said? He said, let light be. I know that was helpful for someone. You see, we have to understand that the presence of God, right? And I'm not talking about the presence of God like people are telling you on TBN, right? The presence of God, this warm, fuzzy feeling. No, I'm talking about the presence of God. When God shows up in a situation, scenario, or setting, guess what happens? It is illuminated. It's illuminated. It is illuminated. You see clearer. Things make more sense. Confusion is dispelled. You have light replacing dark. If someone's excited about that, just write in the comments, I am. Let's go deeper. 18. We're going back a bit. And it came to pass when Zimri saw that the city was taken, that he went into the palace of the king's house and burnt the king's house over him with fire and died. 19. For his sins which he sinned in doing evil in the sight of the Lord, in walking in the way of Jeroboam, and in his sin which he did to make Israel to sin. So in the 7 days this guy was a king, he was making not only mistakes on his own behalf, but he was making mistakes that was affecting the people as well. Watch this, it gets deeper. We're going to go to 22. 21. 20. We're going to go to 22. I'm on 20. 20. Now the rest of the acts of Zimri and his treason that he wrought, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? I asked you the question I asked before again. How will we know if the rest of the acts of Zimri are in the book of Chronicles? Someone tell me in the chat. How will we know? Okay, because we're being asked a question by the Bible here. Okay, how would we know? Someone tell me in the chat. Let's go deeper. 21. Then were the people of Israel divided into two parts. And for those of you who study biblical numerology, you know 2 is the number for separation. So they were divided into two parts. Half of the people followed Tibni, the son of Ginath, to make him king, and half followed Omri, who we spoke about a moment ago, right? Let's get into 22. But the people that followed Omri prevailed against the people that followed Tibni, the son of Ginath. So Tibni died and Omri reigned, all right? Tibri died and Omni reigned. Now, why is this so important? Why is this story relevant? And why is Samuel choosing a Bible story that is close to 70%, 90%, 100% sure that you've probably never heard before? Okay, you might be thinking these questions. I don't know. These are the kind of questions I think about sometimes. Samuel, why'd you have to choose a story that hardly anyone's ever read before? I'm choosing a story that hardly anyone's ever read before, first and foremost, so that there's an element of novelty, just so that you get something fresh, okay? It's super fresh, so it can help you to think about it, okay? And what you might want to do is go read this for yourself when you have time. That's 1 Kings chapter 16, and we read from verse 11 all the way to 22, but you should read the whole chapter. The whole chapter is going to be fire for you, okay? Now, guys, should we jump into some principles that can help you in terms of your life and associations? If we should, just write in the comments the word yes. If that's you, just write in the comments the word yes or the word me, and then we're going to jump straight in. Okay, let me know, guys, and then we'll jump straight in, because I've got a lot of stuff that I'd love to share with you, unpack with you, and help you see in terms of your current associations. And I want you to understand, guys, there's specific word by word, verse by verse alignments that we're going to create here, because I want you to see how this works. All right, so I see the yes. I see the yeses coming through. Let's go. All right. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you how this all breaks down, because I want you to see this, I want you to understand this, and I want you to be able to utilize this. The first thing is this: you have to ask yourself a question. What's the first question? The first question is, what or who are you refined with? That's the first question we all need to ask ourselves. What or who are you refined with? Okay? What or who are you refined with? Okay, this is a key question that you need to think about, because most people, and I'm saying this because I just want to tell you the truth, most people have no clue, no idea who or what is refining them. Okay, now when I say refining, what do I mean? I mean, the Bible talks about God. It talks about God being a refiner's fire. Okay, refiner means it's just getting you ready. You see, gold, when gold is being prepared, gold doesn't look like gold, it looks like a stone. Okay, like your business right now, you might be looking at your business saying, listen, I'm only making 100,000 a year, I'm only making 200,000 a year, I'm only making 30,000 a month, right? Well, here's the reality: if you're only making 30,000 a month, your business might look to you a bit like a stone, because you're facing 30,000 pound a month problems, $30,000 a month problems. Okay, if you are only making 3,000 pound a month, okay, if you're one of the property entrepreneurs that follow me and you're making like 3,000 pounds a month, you might be saying to yourself, well, hold on a minute, like my property business looks like a stone, right? It doesn't look clean, it doesn't look clear, it doesn't look gold, it doesn't look shiny, it doesn't look opulent, it doesn't look like something I desire, right? Well, I'm here to help you with your business and help you understand something very simple. If it looks like a stone, it doesn't mean it is a stone. If it looks like a stone, it doesn't mean it has to stay a stone. Why? Because there's a process of refinement, and refinement is what takes stones and turns them into gold. Someone write in the comments the word gold, okay? Now, verse 19 is what helps us with this, because I want you to see this in 3D for yourself, right? Verse 19 says, for his sins, which he sinned in doing evil in the sight of the Lord, in walking in the way of Jeroboam, and in the sin which he did to make Israel to sin. Why is this so important? The reason this is so important is because who or what is refining you is the first key for you to make sure you're not associating in a way that's going to cause you to have assassination. Okay, so it starts here. Okay, and let's even put this in the center, because I think this is even more important. All right, so it starts with who is refining you. Okay, the refine process. Okay, the refined process, or the refined process. This is where it starts with. It starts with who's refining you, who's sharpening you up every single day. Now, let me share something with you, okay? With Zimri, what we see is that he was committing sin. So he was being refined by an enemy, okay? Quote unquote, the devil, Shaitan, if you're a follower of Islam, Satan, if you're a follower of the Bible, okay? Like, he was being refined. He was following the path of Jeroboam. Jeroboam was someone who worked evil, and now Zimri was working evil. So he was being refined by a negative source. Now, let me share this with you because I want you to understand this. Refined is all about what we can call a vertical relationship. Okay? Vertical meaning up and down. Okay? Vertical relationship. So who's refining you? Who's like, I want you to think about water, Okay, I love water so much, right? Because when you study water, you start learning so many deep principles about things, right? So water in the language, in the Hebrew language, okay, which I believe is the base source language, is spelled mem yud mem, okay, mem yud mem, and it's pronounced mayim, okay, mayim. Now mayim, or water, H2O, okay, which is hydrogen and 2 parts oxygen, okay, so one thing showing up twice and one thing showing up once, okay, in the molecular biological structure, okay, mayim, mem, yud, mem, one thing showing up twice and one thing showing up once. All right, sorry guys, I geek out sometimes when I think about the Hebrew language and how it relates to a lot of this stuff. So anyway, so if you think about water, what water does again and again and again perpetually is it hits the shore, hits the shore, hits the shore. Now this shore, the shore bank, the shoreline is here, right? But as the water hits it and hits it and hits it and hits it, over time, we have a process called the law of erosion, okay? And over time, what happens is that water that keeps hitting vertically, that wall starts to erode the wall. And the wall that was here ends up being a wall that's there over time. Why? Law of erosion. Law of erosion. Now, why is the law of erosion important? The law of erosion is important is because it clearly describes the refining process. This is the same thing that happens to a rock. We take a rock, we put it in heat, and what's happening is the heat is smelting that rock, and then after a while we find out, oh, there's gold inside. How do we find that there's gold inside? Because gold is not going to be melted at the same temperature that the surrounding embryos, the surrounding ecosystem, the surrounding elements are going to melt at. Okay, and it's the same with you, it's the same with me. In business, there are certain surrounding associations that can melt off all of the stuff on the outside in a positive way, leaving what's on your inside, that gold on the inside. But equally, there's things that work the other way. There is a certain heat that might be refining you in a way where your gold on the inside isn't going to show up. Your gold on the inside is going to continue to be soiled and smutty. All right, and we don't want that for you, which is why we're doing this session. All right, so if this is helping someone, just write me in the chat so I know this is helping someone. Now let's go deeper. The first thing is who or what. Okay, who or what are you refined with? Who or what are you refined with? Who or what is refining you? This is the first question we have to understand. Now in Zimri's situation, okay, we learn something very powerful with Zimri's situation. We learn that what he was practicing was sin. So the vertical thing that was eroding him was sin. Sin was eroding him. Okay? Sin was eroding him. Sin was breaking him down rather than righteousness breaking him down. Okay? So the Bible says something powerful. It says, if you humble yourself, God will exalt you. It says, if you humble yourself, honor will come after. Humility comes before honor. Right? So what's that saying? That's saying there's a process of refinement which produces honor. But we've just seen with Zimri, there's a process of refinement through means of sin, which it literally ultimately produces death. Okay, and the New Testament talks all about this. So the first question you have to ask is, what or who are you being refined by? Okay, or what or who are you being refined with? Now, let's go on to the second question, because the second question is super powerful as well. Second question is, right now, and obviously in Zimri's case, it was sin. Okay, it was sin in Zimri's case, but I don't want to stay focused. Excuse me, let me write the whole word. But I don't want to stay focused on that in this session, because hopefully that's not what's going to be eroding you. You're going to be working with something of a higher order. Okay, so let's get rid of the sin, because that's not not what we want to focus on today. So first question is, what is refining you? Okay, now the second thing after we think about being refined is we have to think about the second association. Now the second association is not the association which is vertical in terms of how we're being refined. The second association is horizontal. Okay, and this horizontal association is all about how we're being aligned. Okay, let's put this in capitals just so that we're keeping things in order. Okay, so how we're being aligned. Now the question you have to ask yourself when you think about how you're being aligned is, what or who are you aligned with? Okay, so what or who are you aligned with? Now when we're talking about this, we're talking about association, yes, in terms of communities. We're talking about association, yes, in terms of individuals. We're talking about association, yes, in terms of groups. Okay, but these are horizontal relationships. So that's a question you need to ask yourself. When you wake up in the morning, who am I aligning with today? What or who am I aligned with? You should always, first and foremost, ask yourself the primary question, because this is the first point of call. This is the most important point of call. What or who have I allowed to refine me? Okay? So who or what is refining me? How am I being refined? That's the first question. But then the second question after how or what am I being refined by is who or what am I being aligned with? Okay? And this is the second thing we need to ask ourselves. And the reason we need to ask ourselves this second is because what you find in the Bible, principle, pro tip, okay, what you find in the Bible often is the people who are aligned have an impact in how we're refined. Okay, I'm going to say that again because some of you need to hear that again, right? What you find in the Bible often, this principle is repeated so many times. The people in whom we're aligned have a profound impact on the way in which we are refined. Okay, now Samuel, give me an example. I don't understand what you're talking about. Okay, here's example number one. In the Old Testament, literally even in the same book we're reading, First Kings, we see the story of Solomon's son, Rehoboam, becoming the king. He becomes the king after Solomon. And the people say to him, they say, King Rehoboam, we love you. We will serve you. We will go to the ends of the earth with you if you're a bit more lenient with us than your father Solomon was. And what happens is Rehoboam goes back to his advisors. His advisors were the elders. They were his dad's friends association. And his dad's friends tell him, listen, Rehoboam, what they've said makes a lot of sense. You should do that. You should literally tell them you'll be lenient with them and they will follow you for the rest of your life. And then it says, after Rehoboam consulted with the elders, he then went and spoke to his friends, people, his age mates. And he said to his friends, what do you think I should do? And his friends said, you should tell them that you are going to go harder, you are going to go more vicious, you are going to go stronger for longer on them as it pertains to discipline. You're going to be worse than your dad. And that's what he did. He went back and told the people, he told Jeroboam and the rest of the people, I've decided I'm not going to be lenient on you guys. I'm not going to reduce the stress that my dad put on you. I'm going to increase the stress. And guess what happened? The people rebelled. And they literally took all of the kingdoms except for one away from him. Okay? What am I showing you there? I'm showing you that the vertical relationship that Rehoboam had was actually punctured, affected by his horizontal relationships. Who he was allowing to align with him had a profound impact on how he was being refined within. Okay, now let's go to the third aspect so we can come to a close, and then maybe we'll take some questions and open this up. Now, first we said there's the process of how you're being refined. Second, we said, which is important, the horizontal process of how you're being aligned. Now, the third process, interestingly enough, is another vertical process, okay? But it's not vertical in terms of like heaven and earth. It's more vertical in terms of earth and earth, right? So let me break this third one down. This third one, we've gone from refined, we've got aligned. Let's see if I can write this here because I've taken up all this space. Okay, let's put this here. Okay, so this is another vertical relationship. And now this relationship is about who you have been assigned. Okay, who you've been assigned to. Who do you believe you are being called to? Who are the people that should benefit from your legacy? Okay, now, for example, if you're a parent, one of the first people I can assure you you've been assigned to is your lineage, is your children. Okay, if you're not a parent, you may have nephews, nieces that are part of your community that you've been assigned to. Okay, but then outside of that, if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're an influencer, if you're the kind of people that are part of our Wealth in Words community, right, on a monthly basis, you understand what I'm talking about. Like, who have you been assigned to? Who are your people? Who's your tribe? Okay, because that's the third set of associations that you need to be mindful of so you don't end up in a situation of assassination. Now, why is all of this so important? Okay, I'm going to share with you why it's important. The first one in terms of being refined, verse 19, 1 Kings 16, verse 19, it says, for his sins which he sinned in doing evil in the sight of the Lord, in walking in the way of Jeroboam, and in his sin which he did to make Israel to sin. So he was making, and I want you to pay attention to this, Zimri was literally, ultimately, making those he was assigned to walk away from the things of God because he was walking away from the things of God. This is why these vertical relationships of being refined and being assigned are super connected, because he wasn't being refined appropriately. He was being refined through sin, by sin. So as a result, the people he had been assigned to were also having the same problems with him. Okay, so I want you to think about this. I want you to realize this. Some of us have children and don't realize our children are going to receive repercussions of our actions. And the Bible talks about this very deeply. It talks about it very intricately. For those of you who've studied the Bible and know anything about what I'm talking about, just write in the comments I do, so I know some people have a glimpse into what I'm talking about. Right? This isn't something that's just accidental. In the book of Proverbs, it's a powerful verse. It says, the curse causeless shall not come. Do you know what that means? That means there's no curse that's there without a cause. That means there's no curse that just showed up. It doesn't happen. Okay? Curses have causes, if nobody's taught you that. Right? Go look in the book of Proverbs. It's literally deeply documented there. And what you will find, I see this throughout First Kings very eloquently, but what you will find is people that are generationally minded, people that are thinking about the children that will come after them, their children's children, like the Bible says in the book of Proverbs, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children. People who are thinking about ancestors, okay? I remember my first coach once said to me, the one thing we learn from history is that we do not learn from history. People that are thinking about history, people that are thinking about the future, are people who are not self-centered and only thinking about themselves. Hashtag vanity, like I said earlier. But people who are focused on vanity, those people are the people that typically often are being refined by sin and have a negative impact on those who they've been assigned to as a direct byproduct. Okay, so guys, for those of you who are part of the Wealth and Words community, it's homework time. Okay, it's homework time. So I want to share with you guys homework for you guys to know what you need to do. Okay, and then for those of you who are joining me on social media, if you got a key takeaway, throw your key takeaways in the chat. If you got a question, throw your questions in the chat. We'll take some key takeaways. We'll take some questions before we wrap up. Now, if you're in the Wealth and Words community, here's your homework, all right, for next week's call. So next week when we do our Q&A, I want you to bring this homework along, and then week 3, when we have our members makeover, we'll go even deeper on this in terms of how to align this in your business. Now, first thing is I want you to create your own Venn diagram, like I've done today, which symbolizes by who you're being refined, what skill sets, what tool sets, what mindsets you're allowing to be refining you in terms of your business, in terms of your family, etc. Right? So start with the refined. Then after the refined, I want you to go into the aligned. Okay? Who is it that God has literally said to you, you know what, align with these people, align with these communities, align with these collaborators, align with these partners, align with these influencers, align with these investors, align with these educators, align with these entrepreneurs. Okay? So I want you to do that after. And then after you do the refined and the aligned, I then want you to ask yourself, who is it that you are assigned to? Who are the people that you literally have been assigned? Who are your people, okay, that you do this for? Who are your people that you make it happen for? Who are your people that you believe God has called you to in order to push this thing through? Okay, now, as you do that, I didn't share this in the session, but I'm going to share this now for you guys as we close, right? Here's the key. The key is we're doing all this for one reason. We're doing all this so we can find out how we can become perfectly placed in the center. That's the goal. The goal is to be perfectly placed in the center. Now, how can we be perfectly placed in the center? One of the ways we can be perfectly placed in the center is when we know that there's alignment between how we're being refined and who we've decided to be aligned. Another way we can know that we're literally in the center is when we understand that there's a perfect alignment between how we're being refined, who's doing the refining, and also who we've been assigned. You see, when you get to a place where you start to realize, okay, I see the connection between the processes and the person who's refining me, and I see the connection between the people on my left and right who have aligned with me, and I see the connection between the people God has called me for me to be assigned to. This is when things start to work for you at a whole new level, because you start seeing things in ways most people can't. So as we close, guys, here's your homework for those of you in the Wealth and Words community. Who must I be and what must I do to successfully dwell in the center? Okay? Who must I be? Who must I become? And what must I do to successfully be able to dwell in the center. Now, with that being said, guys, we're going to open it up for questions. We'll take 2 questions because we're going to have our Q&A session next week for our Wealth in Words members. But for those of you who are joining us on the live, and if you have any questions, feel free to throw your questions in now. Now's the time. If you have any questions, we'll take 2 questions quickly before we wrap up. Typically in our Wealth in Words community, we take the questions, we just have like a whole session of questions, right? Rather than taking the set questions in between. So guys, if you have a question, throw your question in so we can take your questions before we wrap up for today's session. And if you're someone who's tuned in and you got value throughout today's session, just throw the word value in. If you have a specific key takeaway, if there was something that really stood out to you today and you're like, wow, Samuel, I never thought of this before, or Samuel, you know what, I've never heard this before, or Samuel, you know what, that's a Bible story I've never even realized was in the Bible before, feel free to share your key takeaways inside of the chat as well, and we can acknowledge your key takeaway. Now, it doesn't look like there's any key takeaways being thrown in yet, and it doesn't look like there's any questions being thrown in yet. So with that being said, okay, the chat is popping with value. Let's go. Let's go. All right, guys, with that being said, I'm going to love you guys. I'm going to leave you guys. I'm going to let you guys move further, faster in your future. All right, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right, cool. I see you. All right, so Wealth in Words members would like to share inside of the actual stream. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump off the live and we will be inside of the private room. Guys, just so you know, if you are inside of the private Wealth in Words room, we are going to shut down and then we will be back. So just fasten your seatbelt, give us a moment so that we can make sure that we wrap up the stream. For those of you who are joining us on the stream, if you're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, we love you. We look forward to seeing you on another stream. Feel free to connect, hit us up, DMs, messages, whatever, and let us know how you found the value in this session, or feel free to just let us know in the comments below. With that being said, good day, God bless, love you guys, and look forward to seeing you guys another time. Peace.